If you are an Aquarius rising, I know you have spent years doing things because they make sense on paper. In 2026, you stop doing what looks logical and you start doing what is true. This is a non-negotiable evolution year. Let's talk about why. This is the 2026 full year forecast for Aquarius Rising. In Astrofusion Lab, we read from the rising sign perspective because it shows how astrology lands in real life through relationships, work, money decisions, and the internal response to all of it. And make sure you stick around until the end. I'm going to share a specific timing technique that will tell you exactly which part of this forecast matters most for your specific age. This is a collective forecast. Also, exact times can vary a bit by location and time zone, so use the dates as anchors. For Aquarius Rising, 2026 is a turning point year, a year where your identity, your voice, and your future direction start to become non-negotiable. It's not always comfortable because it can require endings, pivots, and honesty about what you've outgrown, but it's also empowering. The more you choose authenticity over approval, the clearer your path becomes. Aquarius Rising tends to thrive when you're building the future, not repeating the past. So the theme is simple. You're not here to blend in this year. You're here to evolve. As an Aquarius Rising, your traditional chart ruler is Saturn. Saturn is your long game, discipline, boundaries, responsibility, and the structures you build to support the future you're trying to create. And modernly, Aquarius carries a Uranus undertone, not as the traditional ruler, but as the psychological layer, awakening, innovation, and the refusal to live inside outdated systems. So in 2026, you're working with both. Saturn wants you to build something real. Uranus wants you to make sure it's actually you. And Saturn is especially important this year because Saturn changes signs, and that's always a major shift for Aquarius Rising. A key timing anchor is February 13th, when Saturn enters Aries. Then on February 20th, Saturn meets Neptune at the very first degree of Aries, initiating a brand new cycle. So for Aquarius Rising, Saturn isn't just pressure, it's direction. It's asking you to take your future seriously and to stop wasting energy on things you can't maintain. If you use Saturn well in 2026, the theme is simple: build the life you say you want, one decision at a time. The headline transit for Aquarius Rising in 2026 is Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries and activating your third house, your mind, your daily life, communication, learning, siblings, and the way you process reality. Here are the key timing anchors. Neptune enters Aries on January 26th at the very first degree. Saturn enters Aries on February 13th, and then they meet, Saturn conjunct Neptune on February 20th. For Aquarius Rising, the third house is traditionally called the goddess, and it's also where the moon has its joy. So this isn't just mental, it's emotional rhythm, daily rhythm, and the stories you repeat to yourself. Neptune in the third can blur perception. It can make you more intuitive, more imaginative, and more spiritually tuned in. But it can also create mental fog, mixed signals, and overstimulation if your boundaries aren't strong. Saturn in the third demands clarity. It asks you to structure your mind, your communication, and your daily systems so your life becomes more stable. And a dignity note that matters: Saturn is in fall in Aries, so the Saturn part can feel uncomfortable at first. Aries wants speed, Saturn wants patience. So this transit asks you to slow your thinking down enough to be accurate, not reactive. Early 2026 can be an initiation into a new way of thinking. If you've been asking, how do I focus? How do I stop spiraling? How do I communicate more clearly? Late January through February is one of your strongest reset windows. On April 25th, Uranus leaves Taurus and enters Gemini. For Aquarius Rising, that activates your fifth house, romance, creativity, pleasure, self-expression, and the things you do because they make you feel alive. Uranus in the fifth can bring sudden changes in love life, dating patterns, and creative direction. It can bring unexpected attraction, unexpected endings, or just a realization that you need something different than what you've been settling for. It can also wake up creativity fast. You might want to take a risk, start a project, put yourself out there, or express yourself in a more original way. Uranus doesn't want you performing, it wants you experimenting. A specific warning for your heart. There is a wild card date to watch, July 4th. Mars meets Uranus in your fifth house. This is electric, volatile energy. It can bring a sudden romantic spark, a surprise regarding children, or a massive creative breakthrough. But it's also risky energy, so don't gamble with your heart or your money that week. So, for Aquarius Rising, this is a year where love and creativity become less predictable, but potentially more honest. The more you allow joy to evolve, the more alive you feel. Now, let's talk eclipses, because this is where 2026 tends to redirect you. First, the Aquarius and Leo eclipses. The solar eclipse in Aquarius happens on February 17th at 29 degrees, and the solar eclipse in Leo happens on August 12th at 20 degrees. For Aquarius Rising, Aquarius is your first house, the helm, your identity, body, vitality, and the way you steer your life. Leo is your seventh house, partners, committed relationships, clients, and contracts. So this is the axis of self and other. It's one of the clearest relationship storylines in the entire zodiac. These eclipses can bring turning points in how you show up, what you want, and who you're willing to partner with. Sometimes relationships begin, sometimes they end, sometimes they redefine. But the core is always the same. You can't keep choosing relationships that require you to abandon yourself. Second, the Virgo and Pisces eclipses. The lunar eclipse in Virgo happens on March 3rd at 13 degrees, and the lunar eclipse in Pisces happens on August 28th at 5 degrees. For Aquarius Rising, Virgo is your eighth house, shared money, debts, taxes, inheritances, intimacy, and trust. Pisces is your second house, income, possessions, and self-worth. So the second axis is money and value. It's personal finances and shared finances. It can bring turning points around what you earn, what you owe, what you share, and what you're no longer willing to compromise on. It also brings the deeper question, do you trust yourself enough to build stability your way? On August 18th, 2026, the lunar nodes change signs. The North Node leaves Pisces and enters Aquarius, and the South Node leaves Virgo and enters Leo. For Aquarius Rising, that lands across your first and seventh houses, so it reinforces the self and relationship storyline for the rest of the year. With the North Node in Aquarius in your first house, growth pulls you toward your own path, your identity, your independence, and the version of you that's ready to lead your life from the front. And with the South Node in Leo in your seventh house, there's a release around relationship patterns that revolve around performance, validation, or over-accommodating someone else's needs. It can also be a year where you stop outsourcing your confidence to partnership. So, after mid-August, the message becomes simpler. Choose yourself more clearly and let relationships meet you there. Pluto continues moving through Aquarius, and for Aquarius Rising, that means Pluto is moving through your first house, the helm, identity, body, vitality, and the way you steer your life. This is a long transit, so it's not a one-year story. But in 2026, you can feel the intensity of it. You are in the middle of a deep identity transformation. Pluto in the first can change how you present, how you carry yourself, and what you tolerate. It can strip away old roles, old masks, and old coping strategies. Sometimes people around you notice the shift before you do, because your presence becomes stronger, sharper, and less willing to perform. This transit is not about becoming hard. It's about becoming real. It asks you to stop living as a diluted version of yourself and to take up the space your soul actually needs. Jupiter is a supporting co-star in 2026, and for Aquarius Rising, it helps answer the practical questions: career, momentum, and when life starts to feel easier. A key timing anchor is June 30th, when Jupiter enters Leo. For the first half of the year, Jupiter is moving through Cancer, which is your sixth house, traditionally called bad fortune, work, obligations, health maintenance, and daily routines. Even though the name sounds intense, the sixth house is where life gets handled. So Jupiter here can expand workload, but it can also expand solutions. It can bring better systems, better support, and improvements in health if you're willing to be consistent. Then, on June 30th, Jupiter enters Leo and moves into your seventh house: partners, clients, contracts, and committed relationships. This is where opportunity can come through other people. It's supportive for collaboration, new business, and relationship growth. However, watch for mid-July. Around July 20th, Jupiter in your partnership sector opposes Pluto in your identity sector, first house. This is a peak me versus we moment. A partner might challenge your control, or a relationship opportunity might force you to completely redefine who you are. The key is to expand without losing yourself. So the pattern is simple. First, you improve the day-to-day, and then relationships become a bigger opportunity channel. Late in the year, Venus goes retrograde. And for Aquarius Rising, this becomes a review of career direction, reputation, and what kind of future you actually want. Venus stations retrograde on October 3rd at 8 degrees Scorpio, and then Venus stations direct on November 13th at 23 degrees Libra. For Aquarius Rising, this retrograde storyline moves across your 10th and 9th houses. Scorpio is your 10th house: career, visibility, public life, and the role you're known for. Libra is your 9th house: beliefs, education, travel, publishing, and the bigger direction you're moving toward. A dignity note that matters: Venus in Scorpio is traditionally in detriment, so the retrograde phase can expose career power dynamics. It can bring a review of professional relationships, social standing, and what you're willing to do to be seen. This is a season where you may realize you want a different kind of visibility, one that actually matches your values. Then, when Venus turns direct in Libra, where Venus is in domicile, things often get clearer in terms of direction. It becomes easier to make choices about learning, teaching, travel, publishing, or the long-term path you're committing to. So, for Aquarius Rising, Venus retrograde is asking, are you building a career that feels aligned? And does your public life reflect the life you actually want? Before we close, I want to add one timing technique from traditional astrology that makes the year feel much more personal: annual profections. Each year of life activates a house. That house becomes the main topic of the year, and its ruler becomes your Time Lord, the planet that helps tell the story of how the year unfolds. Perfections are counted from your birthday to your next birthday. For Aquarius Rising, here's the perfection map. Find your age. How to use this. If your perfection house lines up with the loud themes in the forecast, especially the 1st, 3rd, 7th, and 10th, those topics tend to feel more personal, and timing tends to show up more clearly. To pull it all together, 2026 is a year where identity, relationships, and direction all evolve at the same time. Late January through February sets the tone as Saturn and Neptune enter Aries and activate your 3rd house, reshaping your mindset, your daily rhythm, and the way you communicate. Late April brings Uranus into your 5th, waking up romance, creativity, and joy in a more unpredictable but more honest way. The eclipses and nodal shift emphasize the 1st and 7th houses, self and partnership, asking you to choose yourself more clearly and let relationships meet you there. Pluto continues deep transformation in your 1st house, changing who you are from the inside out and strengthening your presence. Jupiter supports improvements in work, routines, and health early in the year, and then opens partnership opportunities after June 30th. And Venus retrograde in the fall reviews career direction and long-term purpose, helping you refine what kind of visibility and future path actually feels aligned. If you keep it simple, structure your mind, choose relationships that respect your evolution, and let your identity become real, without apology. This has been your 2026 full year forecast for Aquarius Rising from Astrofusion Lab, where ancient astrology meets modern psychological insight. Each month, we'll come back to these themes and track how they unfold in real time.